Good evening. It's a Tuesday night. It's the coaching hour with Boitumelo Tlholakae. This is the show that builds people who wants to transform societies that they live in. I am so happy to be here. I am so happy to bring you all the good news. I'm happy to bring you all the motivation. We are here to motivate one another, to empower one another. I get motivated and empowered by the coaches that I bring on the show. And today I have a wonderful and brilliant coach. She's been here many a times. I think this is the second time, if not the third time. I'm so addicted to her motivation. I'm so addicted to her energy. I cannot wait to speak to her. But before we get into that, let's go into our usual slot. This Get Up and Girls song. This is a song that is chosen by one of our listeners, and they choose this song because it's a song that motivates them, and I hope that you will also enjoy it. For those who are listening on the radio on zoelife.co.za, enjoy the song. But for us who are on Facebook as well, I'm sorry we cannot get the song, but enjoy it.
The Coaching Hour with Boitumelo Tlholakae
on Zoe Live Radio.
www.zoeliveradio.co.za.
Reaching out and touching you with inspirational music where it matters most. Zoe Live Radio.
If you've just joined us, this is the Coaching Hour with Boitumelo Tlholakae. As I said, I have a wonderful coach. I have a brilliant coach, and I love her so much. I love her energy. Sis Nonhlanhla, please introduce yourself again and feel welcomed. I'm so excited to have you in my studio.
Boitumelo, thank you so much. As you were saying yourself, this really does feel like home. It's my third time here, and I'm more than excited to be here again. Thank you very much for the beautiful intro. I didn't know I was that awesome, but yeah, now that you keep saying it, and you've been so consistent with this, I am beginning to believe it. I'm really, really beginning to believe that I'm awesome. I am Nonhlanhla Mthembu, better known as Whip, and that is the name that I prefer more than anything. Whip comes from the phrase woman in progress, and it is a name that I adopted back in 2015 when I realized that life was not getting me to a destination. Life was just going on and unfolding as I went on with life, and I realized that this life thing is a progress. This life thing is a journey, and I decided to call my company and call myself that very name, WHIP, which stands for Women in Progress. And I'm here today to talk parenting. And just as a disclaimer, I really need to mention this. I am no expert in parenting. I am no expert whatsoever. More than anything, I am a woman who has failed a number of times but never stopped, continued trying. I did this parenting thing. I still do it without a manual. And all I do to help others also maneuver in their own journeys as parents is to share my stories with the hope that somebody will learn something or somebody can be able to correct their own path using my mistakes.
Absolutely. Who else can claim, that they are a professor of parenting? None. We learn as we go. There's no manual in terms of how to parent your children or how to parent anybody. I am so glad that you actually mentioned that. That actually humbles me. Because we learn each and every day. We learn from one another. It's Mother's Day month. I don't want to call it Mother's Day, but it's a month for mothers, to celebrate mothers. And I thought, who better to celebrate this very beautiful day, very beautiful month with, if not our very own Nonhlanhla Miss Whip. I just love your stories, and I love your motivation. And you talked to me a few weeks back about a project that you are busy with, but before we get into that, I want us to just give a new listener, a background in terms of what WIP is, what does it do, and then we will get on to the topic of the day. Please unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. Thank you very much, Boitumelo. Women in Progress, as I said that back in 2015, when I started this, it was an intentional decision that I made to say, I am going to use my life stories. I am going to use my life as it happens to help others. At first, this was purely for the youth, because a lot of people who know me of my story as a 15-year-old mom. And that's the first story that I started using to help the youth. And in that, I progressed to coaching and mentoring, because I realized that just being a speaker on that subject was not enough. I would go to school, speak to students, and then what? What do they do after that? How do they apply the lessons that I've told them about? So I realized that I was now gaining a contact list of children that I was now walking the journey of life with. And I moved into coaching and mentoring purely for the fact that my just sharing my story wasn't enough. I needed to then help people take step by step into their own life journey and help them to first avoid the mistakes that I did. And if they're already there, help them into a healing space where they can forgive themselves for the things that they've done in the past. And today I fully concentrate on coaching and mentoring, give coaching to young people, I give coaching to women and adults in general around issues of healing, healing from self-pain, around issues of bringing up kids, especially teenagers. I work with parents in mending their relationships between them and their teenagers, because normally during adolescent stage, that's where you find that there's a rift between mom and daughter or dad and son. And those are the things that I do to help people through Women in Progress as a coaching program, as a business that deals with helping people mend their relationships in life, especially when it comes to youth issues and mother-daughter or mother-son relationships.
Wonderful. Who else to do such a job than a mother herself? You know, a mother who has failed a couple of times, who has fallen a couple of times, learned the lessons, and are passionate about, you know, sharing the experiences with others. I am so proud of you. What you do is really mending the society. You know, as we say, this show is a show that transforms people that want to actually better the society that they live in. And you are a typical example, an epic actually example of what we believe in. Sis Nonhlanhla, let's get into your project. What are you doing for this Mother's Month?
Oh, Boitumelo, this month for me is exciting. This month for me, I am taking a personal journey, and I have a lot of women who have decided to join me on this journey. First, let me mention that on Sunday, the 16th of May, we were actually celebrating the International Boy-Child Day. A few people don't know about it. A lot of women that I've engaged with, especially about the Boys to King project that I'm currently busy with, were actually surprised to say, Nonhlanhla, what is that? I said, no, there's a day called International Day for the Boy Child. And a few of us, I also did not know about it until...
I didn't, honestly.
Until last year when I learned about this. And it's all because I had decided to be conscious and be present in the upbringing of sons. Why did I do that? I realized that we are living in a society where every woman now has a story about being hurt by a man. We singing men are trash all over the show. And I thought to myself, if we can concentrate on bringing up better boys that will grow as kings, then our daughters are not going to fight the battles that we are fighting. Our daughters will not have to deal with having to defend themselves from their core brothers or boyfriends or whatever you may refer them to. So I decided that I am going to be present, and I'm really going to make a mark and take a step in making sure that our boys grow up to be better kings, and we avoid seeing the same things happening over and over and over again. And that is why I decided to start a project that I call Boys to Kings, where I encourage mothers that we get into the method of raising our sons differently. A lot of the ills that we're seeing around our society is not because these men were just born as vultures. No, they were born beautiful sons to mothers. But somewhere along the line, our society, our cultures, the way that our parents did things contributed to them becoming the monsters that we're dealing with now. And with me being a mom to a son myself, I thought to myself, it pains me to sit here and listen to people shout men are trash, because I refuse to say it. Personally, I refuse to say it. And I've got my reasons. But one thing that I also said to myself, that I raised a son. Will I be happy to hear somebody say my son is a trash? No, I'm not going to be happy. So I needed to change things. I needed to change the way I was raising him to avoid some of the things that I saw even as a child. I've got stories of what I observed as a child, stories so close to me that I would watch how my father was brought up. This was purely done out of love, and get me right. I think my grandma was in love. I think my grandma was a mother who was practicing what culture and society and how she was also brought up taught her, right? But here's the thing. There was a time when I was growing up. I mean, I was a baby then, right? I was a little girl growing up. And I realized that my dad, even though he was number 3 in my grandma's children, at some point, he was given this authority to have a room outside. You know, he was a boy. He would come in and out whenever he pleases. But my aunts were never given that freedom. My aunts did not have the freedom to have their boyfriends come in and out of the house. But with my dad, I observed that he was free because he was the man, he was the son in the house. And I refuse today to have us as younger mothers or the current generation raising our children and giving them unmonitored freedom that makes them to grow up thinking they've got authority over women, even when they don't.
Entitled to things. That is so good. It's actually raising a lot of questions in my mind. You know, I've always wanted to get involved with boy children. I've always admired, you know, mothers who stand up and say we need to do something about our boys. I remember one of the coaches that came to the show said, I want to raise a man that I will be able to marry tomorrow. You know, I mean, that is the kind of love that we need to teach and instill in our children so that they appreciate their women or their future wives the way that we have taught them how to appreciate a woman, how to appreciate me as your mother. That translates to, or even gives him an idea of what love is and how I should actually be loving another person, especially, you know, a girlfriend or a wife, you know, somebody that is seen in society as being weak, but see them as an equal and see them as somebody as important and somebody to be loved and to be cherished and to be protected. So tell me about your project. How are you doing it, and how many boys were you able to, or boys and mothers were you able to involve in your project this past weekend?
Thank you so much. So this is an ongoing project, and it is going to come out, or it is going to come to life clearly when I present it at the end of the month, which is the end of April. But what I'm currently doing is that I have a group of women that have agreed to say, join me in forming part of the 100 mothers that will write letters to their sons. In those letters, I give clear and straight instructions on how they should be written. So I want mothers to take a pen and paper, sit down and write with their hands, and not type this, with their hands, write this letter to their son. Say, dear son, use the name that you call your son with. Make it so personal that you address them the way you do at home. If you call them son, yes. If you call them do, call them do. Tiem do. When you were born, or when I had you, share what you feel about your son to them. And the second part is share with your son what you think of them currently. So you've told them how you felt when they're born. Tell them how you feel about them currently. And lastly, tell them what you wish and what you pray for their future. Wow. And those letters will be sent to Women in Progress. The details will be given as well. Those letters will be sent to me. What I will then do is that I also have my own personal drive. That's why I said this was my personal journey. It is my personal drive because I want to read handwritten letters, 100 handwritten letters to 100 boys. And I want to see their face. I'm going to read this live to them on a recording and watch them as they hear me tell them what their mothers think of them and what their mothers wish for them. I will then ask the 100 boys themselves to then give a response to their mothers. First, this is me trying to help mothers open a communication between them and their sons, because this is something that we don't do often. And I learned this from my own journey. When I was raising my daughter, who comes after my son, I realized that there were so many opportunities to spend time with her. First, I would do her hair. We're sitting there and we've got time to chat. She spends time with me in the kitchen, so we've got time to chat. She's so close to me. Every little thing that I do when I'm cleaning around the house, she's here, right? Lucky enough, and it is actually wrong for me to say lucky enough. Thank God he gave me a different son. My son was also always here. And that is why sometimes I sometimes feel like he cooks better than me, even though I'm the one who taught him how to cook.
That's good. You're a good teacher.
Yeah, I sometimes feel like he's too loving, even though it's me who actually taught him to love. So I was very lucky that my son was present. But I've seen other parents who don't have that much presence of their sons because they're from a culture that says boys go out and play, boys go play soccer, boys go play your PlayStation while mommy and the little girl are making muffins in the kitchen or they are cooking. So boys are brought up without that close connection that we have with our daughters. So I want to help 100 ladies, 100 mothers actually get closer to their sons and hear their sons respond to them. Yes, I had a good relationship with my son, but I'll tell you what, I was surprised, shocked to the core. When he was 19, we had a documentary that we recorded for one of the TV stations. And we recorded that over a week. And sometimes they would come and interview him while I'm not there or while they are recording me at a different location. And on the day the documentary was aired on TV, I was telling everybody to watch. I was also sitting there and watching. It was beautiful. It was nice. And then came a part that I did not see in the pre-recording, right? And my son was answering a question about what he thinks of me as his mom. And my son said something that shook me. He was 19. I was convinced that we have a close relationship, but there were things that I still did not know about him. There were things that he was feeling that I did not know existed. He said, at some point when I was growing up, I wished my mom would have aborted me because maybe if he did not have me, her life would have been better.
Oh my God.
And I did not know. I heard this for the first time on national TV. And I thought I was close to him. I thought I understood him. And I had to I had to have a conversation with him and ask him. And he told me that, Mom, you've always been loving, you've always been there. You are here for us. But sometimes I look at you struggle and I wish you had aborted me, because then maybe you would not have had the responsibility that I had. And I realized that for 19 years, my son had been carrying my troubles. My son had been carrying my challenges, and that is wrong. That is wrong. It is not his fault that he was born to a 15-year-old mom and there was no father in the midst. And sometimes he thought, oh no, maybe if daddy was here. And we need to get to a point where we are able to raise our sons through the help of family, our preachers, our friends, their teachers at school. Find men that will model manhood for your son. Because as women, we cannot claim that we do that. We can't. We are not.
We cannot be mothers and fathers at the same time.
Yes. There's a male language that they need to connect with. And I'm grateful for friends and families and my own dad, teachers who have always been there to model manhood for my son. And that is why at some point when he was 27, I was proud of the father that he became. Because when he became a father, I saw a different form of a man. And I know I did not do it alone. I know I did not do it alone as a woman. I allowed other men to model manhood for him. And that is why even when he became a father, he said, Mama, the one thing that I'm going to do is to give my son something that I never had. I'm going to be a present father. And I pray to God that he never forgets that promise. So far, he's been doing very well. But that does not mean I did it right all along. I had to learn along the way that I needed to be somebody who's supportive to my son so that he can grow up to be a better man. If I had taken the pain of not having his dad present on him, he might have turned worse. And that is why I want to help women today who feel like when their sons are not doing wrong, and then they start saying, oh, ufuzu babaki. No.
That is so destroying to a child, to be compared to somebody or something that you don't know.
I mean, how do you say a 7-year-old ufuzu babaki? Were you there when the father was 7? Did you see what the father did? Did you bring up the father as well? No, you did not. We cannot take our pain and dump it on our children. We need to be careful. So I don't know what things I did. I don't know what crying I did that made my son feel like maybe he should have been aborted. And I want
to know, how did it make you feel when he said that?
Like I said, that I believed and I really was convinced that I had done a good job. I never even wanted to talk about the guy or make my son feel like he was terrible. No, I avoided that. And thank God for giving me that courage. And even my family was always there to say, never ever badmouth or say anything to your son that will make him feel anger towards the father or anything. And I respected that. But still, my child observed things in my life that made him believe that if I was raised in a family, mom and dad, then maybe my mom would not have struggled as much as she did. And I want young mothers out there to focus on building a good life for themselves so that they can be able to afford and be present in the upbringing of their children. Now, back to your question to say, how did it make me feel? It really hurt me. It did hurt me a lot. It did. But what I quickly decided was that I'm not going to dwell on the pain. Let me go back and reach out to him deeper than I thought I was already doing so that I understand his world. And we sat and we had a deep conversation. And that's why I understood that no matter how good I could have been as a mother, there were things that needed to be done by a man to this boy that I could not do. And there was nothing I could do about it. And that is why every day, I thank God. I thank God for his presence and love in my life, because a lot of children like him are currently in juvenile prisons. Juvenile prisons are full of our young boys. And these young boys is because they felt lack of love at some point, lack of attention from both mom and dad. But I want us as women to take our place and make sure that we make it possible for our sons to not feel neglected. They die a slow death. And I'm going to quickly share a story here that I hope will draw the message closer to home. There's a guy who was very successful. He was working, he had money, but he was alone. So he decided to get a pet, but then thought a dog or a cat would need too much attention, and he was always at work. So he decided to get fish. Went and bought himself 3 beautiful fish, put them in the tank, and they were always there. He would come back from work, feel happy to see them, and at night he would feed them and go to sleep. So one day he did exactly as he normally do, fed them, went to sleep. In the morning, he woke up. So during the night, the tank's thermometer misfunctioned. It misfunctioned and the water continued to get hot and more hot. And in the morning, he woke up and all of them were dead. He says at some point he asked himself this question: did they scream? Did they cry? Did they call out for help? Maybe they did, but because they speak in a language that he does not understand, he did not hear them. He wasn't too far from the tank, and definitely sure they might have cried, they might have screamed for help, but because they spoke in a language he did not understand, he did not hear them. Our sons sometimes cry and they speak in a language that we as mothers don't understand. We need to be there and bring them closer to people that can understand their language. Boys are not brought up with relationship skills. No, they don't have relationship skills. We teach our girls relationship skills because we buy them dolls. They know how to take care of their dolls from when they're little. We tell them to be clean. We make sure that when they start their menstrual cycle, they are always kept clean. We forget to do those little things with our sons. We worry when our girls lose their virginity, but we don't care when our sons lose their virginity. It's like they're free, but it's okay. They have problems as well. We care if our girls get hurt in their relationships. Our sons also cry. They're just not as vocal as our girls are, but they do cry out, and we need to look out for that. The worst one is when we love our sons so much. There's people who are healing from their broken relationships through their sons. You find a lady saying, oh, he's my king. Oh, I love him. Oh, I don't want anything. And they hold on to their sons until a time when this boy has now become a man and they're free. They want to get married. And when are you still holding on to your son? Because he's yours. No. We need to love to let go. We need to love to prepare them for the future. Somebody is going to look up to them as a father and as a husband one day. It's funny because most of us, we sit and we want our girls to be married to good men. Can we first produce good men?
Good men were made. They were not born good men. I totally agree with you, Sis Nontlanta. I totally agree with you. And I just love the way and you look at a boy child, and I just love the way that you look at life. You know, how we always bring them so differently, bring them up so differently. And I'm already imagining myself or you know, going to schools and saying to the boy children, you know, because there's this life science, I guess, that, you know, they experiment with real life situations. You know, I'm already imagining you going to the schools with a practical baby doll, you know, a doll, and giving it to the boys to take care of this child for the whole week, if not the whole month, so that they experience, you know, having a baby and taking care of a baby, being responsible for a baby, because you've done so well. You've raised a boy that is a good father right now. You know, I'm just having this beautiful picture in my head things to come, and how you're going to groom these boys to becoming better fathers, and I promise you might see it as a little thing, a small project, but I promise you, when you touch a human spirit and empower and enrich a human spirit, you are actually planting a seed to the whole universe, because a happy person will emit so much good energy that will vibrate and give other people's same energy and making other people happy. And when a father in the house is able to give that kind of good energy, good vibes to the family, to the mother, to the kids, you can imagine how radiant those kids are going to look at school and behave in a way that is so encouraging to other children. You are planting a good seed, Mama. You are planting a new universe in totality. I'm seeing a bigger picture, and I'm so excited. I don't know what to do to maybe pray for you that the Lord must just open doors for you, for help, for people to participate, for boys to be renewed, for boys to be born again, for boys to be delivered from anger, from anything that they felt. There's the spirit of neglect that boys carry around with them, people and human beings carry around with them, that make people so violent, in the society and with everybody that they interact with. And I'm just loving what you do. Is there anything else that you want to tell us about this project? I wish I had asked you to bring one of the letters, from the mothers, and a response that you got from any boy. I'm so excited. I just wanted to hear of any letters that you might have at your disposal right now, or any idea how the mothers have written so far.
Look, it's a beautiful journey. I've been reading a few. Like I said, that this project is going on. There's mothers that I still have to receive letters from, and the few that I already got, and the few that I already recorded in reading the letter to the sons. I've been blown away. I also did not realize how big this is, until I started having those letters, and I read how women were pouring their hearts out to their sons. And I wish I also had an opportunity, but I do, because I also decided to adopt a lot of sons. So I've also written a few letters to other sons, because mine doesn't actually qualify for this one. I'm doing 7 to 23, and mine is way over 23 years old. But I have a lot of adopted sons that I've also written letters to. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Our boys have love. Our boys are compassionate. We just need to touch and tap into that space. One thing that I always also talk about when it comes to mothers raising boys is that psychology tells us, so, when God has given you something and you actually go into nurturing it, you study the world around which you want to function. And when I studied child counseling and psychology, I was then taught that a child development consists of three stages. From the age of 0 to 7, when they are fully dependent on the mother. From 7 to 12, when they're actually learning the environment around them. And from the age of 12 until adulthood, that is early 20s, they make decisions of who they want to become.
Yes.
And one of the examples that I share about in those 3 stages is to say, here's a mother who loves her son very much and continues to say, oh, my boy, when you grow up, you're going to buy mommy a big house, a beautiful car. And we say those things and they're cute. But then we have a problem when we marry men that take their salary to their mothers before they give us our share. But you don't know that this child was brought up to believe that he's mommy's hero. The development between 0 and 12 years, when he kept on hearing the words that you are mommy's hero, you're going to do this for mommy, you're going to buy mommy a car. These things are things that build characters. And we do it now, and we think we're being cute to our children.
it's actually also planting, just to add on to what you're saying, to planting guilt in our children when they have to now be men and take care of their wives and their families. They're thinking about mom's words. Mom brought me up. Mom did this for me. Mom did that for me. I have to buy her that car. I have to buy her that jet. I have to buy her the mansion. And what about his life? What about his life?
There's mothers who do it after the dad has passed on. Quickly, the son is raised to taking over as the father in the family, and that's wrong. We're giving way too much responsibility for our children. They need to live their own lives. Whether dad passed on, yes, I know it's sad, but please stop saying to little boys, he's the man of the house, or he's the king in this house. Raise better kings. Kings, yes, but what type of kings are we raising?
True. I had an experience at home where my grandmother used to say that to my little brother. And I used to say, you must stop saying these things. And she would say that he's the man of the house. This house is his. He must take care of it. And this boy is like, 12 years old when he's told that he must take care of this house. This house is his. Guess what the boy did when he grew up? He knows that this house is his. When he felt like I don't know, maybe he needed money or maybe he needed what, he sold the house before he could tell the grandmother. And the grandmother is still alive. You can imagine how she felt. It was chaos. And I laughed. I said, I told you. Sis Nanhlanhla, are you able to read us one of the letters? I hope we can just enjoy at least one, if it's not big trouble for you.
Okay, no problem. I do have permission to read this one.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so you laugh when I share the story about this particular letter that I'm going to read. So I received it, right? And I reached out to the mother and I told her something that she did not expect. I said to her, it's too short. I know I'm a writer. I mean, I've always loved writing. I studied journalism because I loved writing. But she kept on saying, I said, no, but it's too short. Can you write some more? So I'm going to read the short version, right? And okay. You will then understand, maybe do, maybe not, but you'll understand why I said it's too short. It's a beautiful letter, but it's your sweet and short type of letters. So I said, no, she needs to go back. She needs to go back and write some more. And I actually gave her an instruction that I want the A4 paper to be full. That's an instruction. But I'll read what she wrote here. Dear Sana Lwam, when you were born, Mommy was happy and my whole family was happy. Your grandma named you Sipho. We Sipho Setu. Today, I look at you and I'm proud of the boy you are. You are a big brother to Olwandle. You are a beautiful son to me and my friend. I hope that God will bless you with all the things that you wish for. I want you to grow and be a good man. I want you to always remember that Mom loves you and Mom wants the best for you. Love, Mom.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. And I felt exactly the same way. It's beautiful and it's sweet. But with this project, I don't just want sweet, short messages. I want us to tell our sons the stories around their birth, how we felt, what happened, what their birth meant to us. Get into details. Mine wasn't so sweet, and it's in my upcoming book. I had to tell my son that I did not want you. I wanted to get rid of what was in me at the time. I did not acknowledge your growing up. I always make this joke. I've got 2 children, right? I have 2 children, but I've never had a baby shower. Like sometimes I wish I could be pregnant just so that I can have a baby shower. But I never had a baby shower. I did not want it, even if somebody wanted to do it. I did not want it because I did not want the babies to start with. So I had to tell my son that. And these are the things that I was scared would later on form habits or build his character. Because between the age of 0 and 7, I did not want him, to an extent that even when he was saying mommy to me, I got irritated. I was 15 when he was born. When he was 2, I was 17. I wanted to go and play with other girls. I wanted to go and roam around the streets like other teenagers, but I couldn't because he was here. And it frustrated me. It really, really frustrated me. So I read this letter and I said, this is beautiful, this is sweet, but I want more details. I want our sons to know how we feel about their birth. I want our son to know how we felt when they were born. Currently, she's referring to the son as a friend, as a beautiful big brother, but that is not enough. I want her to say what personally touches her heart about her son, not that he's big sister. We are already loading so much responsibility on our children. One of my mentees currently, and it's a coaching service that I give to the youth and their mothers. This girl is saying the reason why there's so much fights between me and my mom is because every day, every time I do something wrong, my mom says, your little sister is looking up to you. You must behave well so that your sister can. No, it's wrong. This very one has their own lives to live. They should not be used as an instrument of correction to the one coming after them. It loads too much responsibility on our children, and it creates what we call a gap between the two, because this one must now live to prove their lives to the next one. So this is a beautiful letter, as I said. Yes, I love that the son is a big brother in the house, but who is he as an individual? Who is he as an individual? Tell our sons who they are as an individual. I also at some point had to stop saying my son is a good big brother, because when I wanted to leave, he would be there to look after the little sister. And no, I had to acknowledge him for who he is. So yes, thank you very much. And I'm also grateful to my friend for allowing me to read her letter while she while she puts more meat into it, because this is cute, this is beautiful, but this is something that you can send via an SMS in the morning after your son leaves for school. You know how we send messages to our boyfriends in the morning and at night? We need to do that to our own kids. We need to do that to our sons, so that they have relationship skills. They don't have authority skills. We empowering them too much with authority skills. We say when the girl is busy in the house, we send the boy to do boy stuff outside because it's late, because it's dark and all of that. And when they start staying out in the streets while they are 14, we are comfortable and we don't know what they're doing out there. But if you go to juvenile prisons today, you will find 14-year-olds who had time and freedom to be in the street until 8. And while they were there, their friends introduced them to drugs. While we sit and watch Soul Peace with our little girls, because they're here, they understand relationships, because we're watching The Bold and the Beautiful. I don't know if anybody still watches The Bold and the Beautiful, but whatever.
Exposing your age.
I'm exposing my age. Whatever is trending now, we sit and watch these things with our girls. We make TikToks, videos with our girls, but never enough with our sons, because we say they must be okay. And remember, the language of games, the language of points, the language of competition is very big with men. And it's because they were brought up in the streets, playing soccer with their friends, having to prove their skills there and scoring goals. And when they grow up and we see them continuing to be these people that cannot take emotional guidance and just want to give instruction and say, this is it, we get surprised. But that's how they're brought up. That's how they're brought up.
We must stop raising our boys as robots. and robots that are just meant to overperform and be competing all over the place. That's why a lot of men, and young men are not able to live with a woman that is, above and over achieved or more achieved than they are. And I'm just loving what you're doing. Your project is quite a beautiful thing and very meaningful to society. And I pray that, the Lord would expand your project, expand your territory, that you will get help to continue with this project and let it grow and be something big. Let's see you produce, these young men that are full of love, full of respect, full of humility, that know themselves and are in touch with their own feelings, that know that it is okay to cry, it is okay not to be okay, it is okay to be vulnerable. It's because you are human, you have your own feelings, and you should communicate what your feelings are, and this is how you should actually attempt to communicate your feelings, not by fighting, not by insulting somebody, but by saying, I'm hurt. I'm crying because I'm hurt. You hurt me, your words hurt me, and they cut me up in this way and that way, and I don't like it. It doesn't sit well with me, and this is how I would like to be communicated to. I pray that the Lord will give you more soldiers to work with that would raise you and lift you when you feel you can't reach somewhere else, and shout if you need any help. Would gladly help, and tell us right now, Sis Nonhlanhla, how do people participate? I'm sure this is not the end. We have missed the weekend, but I'm sure this is not the end of the project. There is still 2022 and so many other years to come. What are you busy with now, and what's coming in the future with regards to this particular program? And tell us then.
Boitumelo, thanks. I'll get to that just now, but quickly just allow me to share this one other example, because I know sometimes I dwell so much on the bringing up of boys by single mothers, But here's another thing that pops up in our normal mom-daddy households. You'll find a mother, and this is where what you've just mentioned, boys who are in touch with their feelings, boys who are able to communicate better because we communicate with them. There's mothers who are scared to communicate with their sons. When the daughter does something wrong, they are quick to reprimand, they are quick to discipline or do whatever it takes for the daughter to realize that they've made a mistake. But when your son does something wrong, most mothers will say, "Why did you do that? I'm going to tell your dad. When your dad gets here, he's going to discipline you." And we always think that it's better if the fathers discipline our boys, and we don't want to do it because we think, oh no, it's the father's responsibility. He must do that. But today we've got friends, we've got sisters, we've got family members that have problems in their marriages because their husbands would not hear a word from the woman. They were brought up to believe that mommy does not have a voice. Mommy must always wait for daddy to come and address me. So a voice that sounds to the boy is the male voice. And when they grow up and in relationships where there now needs to be an understanding and compromise, they find it difficult to do that. Some of us are dealing with that currently in our own marriages, but we refuse to change the way we bring up our boys so that our boys will not grow up to believe that a woman has got no voice.
That's an aha moment for me, I must tell you. Because we think we're joking, we think we're scaring the kid, but that's the children's development. That's how they will always remember discipline coming from a male voice, and mom shall never discipline me because she's not capable of disciplining me. Dad is the only one that is capable of disciplining me. Oh my word.
And when they do wrong and we are all by ourselves, we say, if the father was here, maybe he would not have turned out like this, which is not the case.
Sis Nhlanhla, thank you so much for being with us on the show. Oh, it's been an awesome time. It's been so fulfilling to hear you, to listen to the stories of mothers writing to their boys, the lessons that you are teaching the boys. And we know, because we have one successful boy already, he's a man now, he's a dad, that we can point to, if anybody wants to know what you have done so far. I am so proud of you. I'm so proud to be working with you, and I wish you all the best. So let's just say, how do people contact you?
Thank you very much, Boitumelo. I was actually waving to my son, so he was here to watch me do this. We told him about this after you said we'll record this, and he was like, no, I'm going to make time and come home and see you do this. So yeah, it's been fun actually expressing myself like this in his presence as well. Boitumelo, thank you so very much. I do believe that our listeners tonight and those that are watching on Facebook can actually have something to pick up, can actually have something that is their takeaway. And more than anything, I still say I am open for more mothers who'd like to also write letters to their sons. Like I say, it has to be handwritten. Like you saw with the one that I read, it cannot be short. Pour your heart out and be willing to send that letter to me so that I can read it to your son, and I will record that reaction and the response for you. So you're not going to do it yourself. I would love to take the honor of reading your feelings out to your sons. So women, mothers, whether you are sisters, and I also said even to those that don't have kids of their own, try and adopt a son out there with your heart today and just write them a beautiful letter, handwritten, something that they'll be able to keep with themselves and remember the good ways that you have poured out on that letter. Nhlanhla is available on Facebook. I always try to be as active as possible. I go by Whip Mthembu, both on Facebook and on Instagram. And I am also going to share my contact details for those who would like to contact me and be part of this project. More than anything, people also need to know that I offer services in coaching and mentoring young boys. I have had successful clients of boys that I met while they were using drugs, and today they are recovered. Today they are responsible young men. I have had clients who gave me their daughters when they thought they are giving up, and today those are responsible young ladies that I can actually present out there as the work that God has empowered and mandated me to do. So I'm very grateful to give my context right now. My number is 060-915-8119. I'm going to say that again, 060-915-8119. I am available on Facebook as Whip Mthembu. I am available as well on Instagram as Whip Mthembu, and I invite as many women as possible to come. If I can reach my 100, I'll be happy. But if I can double the number, I'll be more than excited with this project. Then I know that I've got 200 boys that will hear how their women or their sisters feel about them, and they will take that as a true message that comes from the heart. And I will be more than happy to read those letters out to those boys. Look out for more details on a seminar that I'm going to have at the end of May, where I will invite mothers and their sons. So your ticket to that will be you bringing your son with you to that, because myself and other exciting speakers are actually going to talk about our own journeys in bringing up boys. And I also have men that have said to me, Nhlanhla, we are there, we will be a part of this, we will share our stories of how our own mothers brought us up, and we are the men that we are today. So I look forward to that event, which I'll give details to very early, maybe starting next week. I'll start sharing those details. More than anything,
we'll definitely share them. We'll also definitely share them on our Facebook page so that people are able to follow you. Thank you so much, Sis Nonhlanhla. Thank you for blessing us with your presence and always agreeing to come and speak to us on Zoom, on anything. You're always there for us. Thank you so much. With that said, I just want to say we have come to the end of our show, and we appreciate your listening, you tuning in, and until we meet again next week, keep on adhering to the COVID-19 lockdown regulations. Let us keep safe. Let us keep our little ones safe. Let us wear our masks everywhere we go. There's a threat of a third wave now, and the numbers keep rising, over 2,000 every day, and it cannot be good. It will not be good unless we take care of ourselves and we protect one another. If you know that you have been exposed, please stay at home, isolate, take care of the people that you live with, and until we meet again next week, I love you very much. And to our leadership and to our churches, let's keep on praying for our country, for our families, for our boys, for our little girls. Let us pray for families, and God will bless us. God will hear our prayers, I believe. Until we meet again next week, from me, I love you.